This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles, on the Rockstar Radio Network. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money, and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and the Book Shepherd on the Rockstar Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Welcome back to another session of Your Guide to Book Publishing, and I promise that this one, although I always say this, but this one is really going to be a great session because I have one of my very favorite people with me, someone I've known for a zillion years, and, well, it seems like a zillion years. And
time flies when you're, I don't know, it seems like a long time I've known this guy.
Oh, God, we're both gray. We've known each other so long. But I've known Greg when I saw him with his very first book, just a little book that he was kind of hustling around and moving around and teaching people how to be more in the present and to have a great relationship. And the book it just happened to be called 1,001 Ways to Be Romantic. And what Greg Godek did was take and soar that book all by his lonesome. I mean, he would hire the help when he needed it, but it was his brains, his savvy, his moxie, his vision, his platform that took it into the millions of sales. Hey, you said, doesn't he sound terrific? So everyone, please meet Greg Godek. He's a consultant. He's a keynoter. He's the author on Implied Creativity. He's innovative. He's problem solving. He's off the wall. And he's just a hoot to be with. And Greg is going to be the closing session speaker at the Author You Extravaganza. So he'll be here throughout the extravaganza, May 2nd through 4th, but he will be the closing speaker, and it's a perfect way to bring it all together. The Author You Extravaganza is one of these oddball conferences where everybody stays until the end, Greg. I promised him that would happen. And they stay because as a speaker myself, I've been at sessions, when you're the last day, okay, morning's okay, but you think afternoon, oh my God, they're all going to be gone and half the audience is gone. Well, at the extravaganza, people hang out and they stay. And Greg is really worth it. He has got more tidbits and savvy. I mean, who else do you know would get an RV, wrap their book cover around it, drive up to the NBC parking lot, get out and hand a copy of his book to everybody standing in line for the Tonight Show, and then reap the benefit when Jay Leno ragged on about it for 15 minutes? Hey, this is Greg Godek. So, Greg, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, did I sum that up? Did I sum that out well enough?
That's good, but I want to be clear here. My number one tip is do not buy an RV.
Okay.
Don't do it.
So if you're going to do what Greg did, rent it.
Rent it, and get serious sponsors before you go. Really, before you go, if you get Nike, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, you get somebody to throw $250,000 at you, well, then go do it. I mean, that's great. You can hire a driver. You can do all kinds of things that you don't have to do if you're just doing it solo.
So, Greg, you didn't have any sponsors when you were doing that, right?
No, I thought I was so confident. There's confident and then there's insane. There's kind of a fine line between the two, and it's hard to figure out where that line is. But I just figured that I was going to get sponsors along the way. And it's theoretically possible, but, when you're the author, the marketer, the publisher, and the bus driver, there's not too much time left to go chasing sponsors. And also, this was ancient history. I started the trip in 1995. back when we didn't really have cell phones. I mean, if you any of you who are old enough, do you remember what we used to call car phones?
Oh, yeah.
The battery was as big as a briefcase, and calls cost about $3 a minute. And so you really only used it for emergency. So, you couldn't, like nowadays, really, you could be driving your 36-foot RV down the highway and you could be making calls, pitching potential sponsors. I mean, that would be a pretty good thing to do.
Oh, yeah, it would be. And as you're driving by or in selection. So you literally foot the bill for everything, correct?
I did. I am. I'm an insane person. But that was like, we're jumping all around here. That was about 4 years after I started this crazy journey. I first self-published 1001 Ways to Be Romantic in 91. And I had that rare experience, and I'm lucky on this, that my very first book took off. Okay? I mean, I'm a smart person. I'm an aggressive person, but, I can't take credit, for the whole thing. I mean, things came together. And lots of people have the experience of, writing 1, 2, 3, 4 or more books before one really hits.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes you never have one that hits. I mean,
that's true.
It's a crazy industry, but, Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield with Chicken Soup for the Soul. I mean, I don't know exactly, but they had each written at least 5 or 6 books, over the years. They were both very successful motivational speakers before they stumbled into Chicken Soup for the Soul. And of course, there you go. They're richer than Bill Gates now.
I don't think so, but they're quite comfortable. And I had on the show a couple of weeks ago Nick Taylor, who is on his 5th book right now, and he really said it's the 4th or 5th. That's kind of the hump. You get to that, there's just something happens, and all of a sudden you had 150,000 sales on Amazon and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I want to give people a warning here about everybody, including me, because I'll fall into this. You'll hear me say, this is what you should do. Or, the rules of something are such and such, the rules for good book titles and the rules for, marketing. They're all guidelines, you guys. They're all guidelines because we all have our own path. And every book has its own path. I mean, really, like I said, I stumbled into, my first book. It happened to have a great, memorable title. I mean, seriously, people out in the world, they don't know the name Greg Godek. I mean, this is not Jay Leno. This is not Mark Twain, but they remember the book title. People remember 1001 Ways to Be Romantic. It's just, it clicked. And, the timing was right, and I'm the right person. I know how to really market books, and self-publish it. So I had a lot of control. Like even, I play things in my mind like, well, what if this piece had been different, right? What if it was a different book title? What if I'd been published by Random House? With everything else staying the same. Let me tell you something. One of the keys of my success was giving books away. I mean, lots and lots. I mean, thousands of books. And really, Judith, you know me. They don't know me. I'm not exaggerating. Okay, I'm kind of crazy and excitable. But when I say I gave away thousands of books, it's not an exaggeration. One of the things I did, every single radio interview that I ever did, I would send them 10 books without asking. Now, I have people who disagree with me. I have friends in publishing. I have friends in public relations, and, everybody has their opinion. There's it's the whole area of, it's called permission marketing, which is it's a good way to go with some things. Ask someone for something before you go ahead and do it. But I figure, look, if you're self-published, you've got books that give or take $1 a piece, okay? It ranges, of course, depending on your book. But one of the best things in the world about self-publishing is that you have books at cost. When you have books that cost $1 a piece, giving 10 of them to a radio station, I mean, it's nothing. I mean, to not do it, to my mind, to not do it is kind of crazy.
Well,
because,
even Greg, if they're $3 and $4 a book, so give them 5 books. But some of these books are getting. I can tell you, the only way I'm seeing a $1 book is if we're doing a massive quantity of them. And one of the things of publishing today is you don't, as you and I both know, you don't go and order a 10,000 book run. The big boys don't even do that. They get back to print all the time. And so your cost per unit is going to be a little bit higher. That I'm seeing books that a 200-page book come into in really with a decent printer into the anywhere from $1.75 to $2.50 run. I'm seeing that for a couple thousand copies right now. I mean, that's some of the bids I have right in my hand with clients I'm working with, and they're coming from multiple areas. But the reality is, to me, this is book marketing 101. That most authors have this fear of giving it away. They have this huge fear that it's almost like a poverty mentality. And they don't understand is they're spreading the buzz and they're getting people talking about it. And that's what needs to be done.
Oh, absolutely. You really, and this goes, everybody talks about this with the web now. It's like, give things to get things, right? Well, that concept's been around for a long time. Giving things away, giving information, and, you're priming the pump. You're making, let me tell you, and it's not just the self-publishers who are afraid to give books away. I mean, the New York publishers, oh my goodness. I've talked to authors who've had major publishers send books to radio stations with a note that says, please return the book. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, people must be crazy. And, here's a tip regarding radio. If you have to give away more than 2 or 3 books to the radio station, or they would never be given away on the air, if you want books to be given away on the air, that is. I mean, it's certainly fine. Here's your 1 or 2 books, for the host to look at, but it's wonderful if you have the kind of book that a radio station might give away. Let me tell you, here's what happens. 1 book goes to one host, the second book goes to the second host, the third book goes to the producer.
All right, and Greg, hold that. We're going to go to a break, and we're going to come right back because this is a key element. This is book marketing, as I said, 101. So my question for all of you is, do you have a book marketing poverty strategy or prosperity? We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join Author U today through its website at authoru.org. Follow Author U on Twitter at AuthorU and on Facebook at Author U, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. Author U, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
Sell stuff? Do you want to sell books? Lots of them? If yes, you must take credit cards, the most widely used form of payment today. The Free Terminal has created a special program for your guide to book publishing listeners. No contract, all equipment is free, extremely low rates, and no termination fees ever. Contact Alan Dean at alan@thefreeterminal.com or call him at 303-668-6828. The Free Terminal has handled all credit card transactions for both author you and Judith for over a year. Don't wait another day. Contact Alan at thefreeterminal.com or call 303-668-6828 and tell him you want the no-contract author you deal.
Every picture tells a story. And it's a truism that people do judge a book by its cover. Nick Sellinger and NZ Graphics have been in the business of producing superior graphic cover design and interior layout for self-published authors, independent and traditional publishers for years. He has developed a reputation for excellent work, fast turnarounds, and best of all, affordable pricing. NZ Graphics also produces ebooks and book marketing materials such as posters, sell sheets, postcards, bookmarks, business cards, logos, and more. Books designed for his clients have won multiple book awards, including Best Book Award by U.S. Book News, multiple Evie Awards from the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, Indie Book Awards, the San Francisco Book Festival Award, and Freedom Medal Award from Valley Forge. Visit www.nzgraphics.com or call 303-985-4174 for more details about making your book the success it should be. Mention that you are an FOJ, friend of Judith's, and that you heard about NZ Graphics on your guide to book publishing.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
This hour on Your Guide to Book Publishing, we're focusing on platforms, pitfalls, and publishing. And my guest is Greg Godek, who knows just a tiny bit about platforms, pitfalls, and publishing. And if you heard us at the top of the hour, he shared how he roamed around town all by himself without a sponsor in an RV wrapped with his book cover. But he did sell over 3 million books in the process. So there you go. So there's the payoff here. And he was really focusing on that the savvy author in marketing is really loose, not loose with cash, but loose with books, and really does give them out. So when you're doing publicity, if you've booked on a radio show, send them extra copies to give away, and everyone starts reading it. Other hosts, producers, so hopefully the hostess will actually go through it. And I mean, I'm hoping that when we start shooting out my new book to some people, they'll see that it has all kinds of eye candy in it. So it's kind of a fun book. But Greg, let's get back to you. We were talking about giving books away.
I do. I think it's so important to get the word out there. And we were talking a little about the distinction between being self-published and being with a major publisher. Mm-hmm. I understand, it's possible, but it's a real rarity to negotiate with a major publisher, to give the author permission to buy books at maybe cost plus 10 or 20%, which is acceptable to me anyway. And of course, it's about me, right? But but you have to be careful. The standard author or terms are, you can buy your own book at 50% discount, which is just horrible. I mean, your $19.95 book, you can buy your own book for $10 a piece. I mean, you can't give many books away if it's costing you $10 a piece. So that's really a big economic difference. And what the concept here is, you need to tie together, your economics and then your vision. I mean, part of the vision says, I'm going to give away a lot of books. And I don't mean on the streets here. I mean, mostly it's books to media. I mean, that's really important, okay? This is books for the purpose of spreading the word. and then, of course, giving books to VIPs and, certain thought leaders and people like that is very important. But goodness gracious, like you had mentioned, it was Valentine's Day 1997, and I was wrapping up the RV tour. I traveled the country. I wasn't totally alone. I was with my wife at the time. I don't know why she stuck it out, but there you go. And we crossed the country about 4 times and hit 43 states, and we wrapped it up in Los Angeles. And we pulled up in front of the NBC studios, and we jumped out of the RV and gave a couple hundred books away to the audience because unfortunately you can't just drive up and say, hey, I want to talk to Jay. That doesn't happen. But I figure if 400 people in the audience all have this book, somebody might notice it. We did that for 2 days straight, and nothing happened for 6 months. And then, out of the blue, and I didn't even know it happened at first, Jay Leno joked about 1001 Ways to Be Romantic during his monologue. And really, that's like the perfect publicity because, you're getting national publicity, you're getting implied endorsement, and you don't even have to be there. So that was very interesting. That was fun.
And you wonder what triggered it to come up again. Or maybe they were watching old shows or something, and they saw it that way. I mean,
you just don't know. And I think that part of publishing and part of marketing are really one of the. It's a good thing to be kind of schizophrenic, and what I mean by that is that on the one hand you need a plan. I mean, you've got to learn about the industry. You have to learn about publishing and marketing and all this stuff, and you have to have a plan and, doing a book tour or what you're doing online and all that stuff. I mean, you pretty much know what you're doing. And at the same time, this is where the schizophrenia comes in. At the same time, you don't know what's going to work. I mean, you just don't know. You pitch the Today Show, and you pitch the Wall Street Journal, and you pitch the New York Times. And, you might get lucky and something happens in a couple of weeks, but probably not. And see, this is where, people who don't really understand the process, they give up. They give up too early. You pitch the New York Times and, the, lifestyle section for your book on, build your muscles by eating honey. I don't know, whatever the heck it is. You pitch them. And you don't hear back, or they turn you down. Pitch it again, and again, and again, and again, because you just don't know when things are going to click. So most of the people who are successful, most of the people who sell significant numbers of books, they're in this for the long haul. You don't. The one-hit wonders, like, come and they go, and then you don't know about them anymore. You don't see them anymore. And, that I guess that's a nice thing, too. I'm trying to make a living doing this. One of the talks I give, I'll be using a lot of the material in your seminar, Judith, but it's not the same title. But I used to have a talk title called Creating a Best-Selling Career. Because really, here's the truth, everybody. Creating a real best-selling book, and I mean real. I mean, yes, you all know that there's no exact definition, okay? And everybody runs around, claiming they're a best-selling book. Everybody has an opinion, okay? I figure, a best-selling book, you got to sell 100,000 copies or so, to be a bestseller. And then there's the New York Times list and so on. But creating a best-selling book is hideously difficult. But what's not hideously difficult is creating a best-selling career. And what that means is that your book fits into a larger context. You're a speaker and you have a book. You're a consultant and you have a book. You run some other company and you've written a book that has to do that. And heck, you're a farmer, but if you've written a book about, biodiversity or farming methods or whatever it is in your industry, that helps you create a career. I mean, something that you can actually live on and do. Because if you're counting on just books, I mean, really, you talk to anybody in publishing, as positive and, as idealistic as anybody can be out there, really, they're not going to tell you, just write your books. Just write books. And, and you'll make a living at this. It's a big, complex, long-term thing to do, and creating a bigger career. I just think it's a smarter thing to do. And Judith, I know you talked about this, a lot, is, using books as some people call them calling cards, right? I mean, picture you have a business. It's just, Judith, you pick something, Judith. What kind of business? Just something.
Well, it could be anything. I worked for over 20 years in healthcare. It was a huge, in fact, that book, the books that I created for the healthcare industry came from a book that I created for the general workplace, general public, and several directors of nursing heard me speak and said, you need to do a book just for us. And I really actually blew them off. The last thing I wanted to do was to do another bloody study on toxic behavior with women. But they kind of hounded me, and I did the study, and I was kind of dumbfounded with the results because there was such a higher level of being shafted by your coworker if you worked in nursing than it was if you worked in a general type of environment. So that got my attention. And then as I started drilling down into it, and I was able to bring up my expertise with finance, which I had a background in finance, and I could quantify what this toxic behavior was costing in productivity and turnover related cost, as well as stress and health, then the bells and whistles went off, and I became the go-to person. If you've got, a bad apple, I would always say, Greg, do you want the 5-minute solution or do you want the $40,000 one?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I would give them to. but
so you can see what Judith has done here with she's taken her interests, her career, her industry, and with creativity.
Okay, with that, Greg, you know what? We're going to have to come back because we are at tunes, and let me come back with this break, and we'll come back and we'll pick up that and tie in turning your love of writing into a true vocation. I'm Judith Briles. Greg Godek is my guest.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Since 1987, Color House Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Color House to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing with Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title title, Enhancing the Promotion of Your Book During Infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
With me today is Greg Godek, and we are talking about platforms and pitfalls and publishing. And we have some other P's, but we won't share them all with you. But the thing is that we have to be an author, there's a professionalism side to it. And there's a real need for a vision of what you can do and where you can go. And Greg was talking before we took the break about the career side of it. Well, authoring can be a fabulous career as an adjunct to things that you're currently doing. And they start to mesh and meld together, and that you become, whether it's the go-to person, like I became the go-to person dealing with toxic behavior in the healthcare workplace, specifically nursing. I wasn't a nurse, but I had studied them up the gazoo, and it worked. And I created books specifically for that. And I still get calls, even though I have walked away from most of that business. And so you can do that to add to your credibility, to expand your career, to do a variety of things. And pretty soon they're intertwined. And you'll find that it's a happy marriage. And it's a different way to be romantic, I guess, Greg. we could use,
there you go.
Tie into your book, 1,001 Ways to Be Romantic. And do that. So let's continue with that. What other hiccups do you see in there? I mean, and that block authors from really embracing the fact that this really is a long-term relationship.
Well, I think it's important to really make the distinction between the long term and the short term. I mean, people, they've always expected this, but boy, I think it's getting worse. People expect really instant results. I mean, on the technology side, it's really wonderful. I mean, you can print a book in 2 days. I mean, you really can.
I know.
And so the technology is wonderful, but the real question here is, can you sell those books in 2 days? I mean, selling books, making transactions happen out in the world, that's the hard part. I mean, writing books can be hard for people, but really getting the book together is, I mean, it certainly is involved, but it's, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And whereas the next phase, the marketing, the sales, the promotion, the branding, the positioning, there's another P, positioning, all of that, it's endless. It's endless. And if that is discouraging to you, then you might want to look at publishing as more like dabbling. And there's nothing wrong with dabbling, okay? I mean, really, really, really. If you have a book and you want to get it out and you'd like to have it in your local community and so on, that is a very good thing to do, okay? I tend to be, what I'm talking about, the place I live is, the world of let's sell hundreds of thousands of books and let's make a living at this. Now, if that's your mindset, if that's your vision, you've got to play the game seriously. I mean, and playing the game seriously means, your time, your money, your creativity, everything has to work synergistically in order for this to really work. I mean, this is a business. I mean, one of the challenges is people who enter this from a very artistic point of view. artistic or non-business. In other words, you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you're a psychologist, you're a teacher, and you decide to write a book. It's wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful. And, some of the books that these people produce are wonderful, are funny, they're educational, they're helpful. But, if you're a nurse, if you're a construction worker, like, you just don't have a background in business. And so that part needs to be learned. You can't skip that part. Here's a boring part. Sorry about this, but, the real economics of how this works is really important. And, I don't know how I did this, but, when I entered into this, good golly, 20 years ago, it was all print books. It was not electronic books, so, economics have changed. But one of the first things I happened to learn was the 8-to-1 ratio, which says that if you want to be profitable, which is an if you want to be profitable, your retail price has to be at least 8 times your production cost. If it's not 8-to-1, you're not going to make money. You can sell 1 million books, but if it's 7-to-1, sorry, it's not going to work. Because, that takes into account, the distributor, the wholesaler, the retailer. I mean, everybody takes a piece, and it just needs to work that way. Now, of course, it's different now with electronic books and so on. So that, but you need to learn those economics, and really, look, I was an English major. I mean, I was not a business major. So, I mean, I understand very much the artistic, idealistic side. I want to change the world and all of that. But boy, it's got to be combined with some hard-headed stuff. And if that's not your talent, find a partner or marry the right person who if you're the crazy visionary, you better have somebody in your life who's the hard-headed numbers person. Because both of those things need to work if you're going to sell books or if you want to create a best-selling career.
And that really is critical, that you've got to figure out what you're good at. I mean, one of my personal keepers is don't do well what you have no business doing. Figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
And then you resource out and get theirs done. And there's lots of people who actually specialize in working with authors. You're going to have to learn how to negotiate sometimes. Some of them are very expensive, but there's also a lot they can do. They're so fast, and most of them work very remote. They're so fast, and what they can cover in a couple of hours may take you 5 to 10 hours or more.
Right.
So be smart. Be really, really smart in this. And I know I get help in a lot of stuff. I mean, there's some stuff that I do really fast, but there's other things that I am glad to just say, here's what I want to do, figure out how to do it, and do it. And that's exactly, I took a class on how to do an ebook, and by God, I got an ebook done by the end of the evening. But Greg, I will not do another ebook again. I am gladly to pay someone a few $100s to do the ebook for me. Gladly. But I know what the process is. It's off my plate. It's out of my system. I'm done with it. Just done with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's different. And I've always said a very similar thing. Do what you do best, and hire other people to do the rest. Now, I understand in the beginning. I mean, you are going to have to do a lot more things yourself. But let me tell you, earlier, I think off air, you and I were talking about some of the biggest mistakes that people have made. And this ties into, hiring people to do certain things. One of the biggest mistakes that self-published authors make is that they design their own covers.
Oh, that's always a disaster.
Oh, my. Let me tell you something. You could line up 100 books, and I can pick them out. I can pick out the self-published books just from the covers with about a 99% accuracy. They're just, and know your own limits. Like, I'm self-taught on Quark, as a design program on the computer. And so, but I call myself a junior jet designer, okay? I fuss with the design. I'll play with it because, it's nice to play with some fonts and make your book look, and print it out. It's a good visualization thing to do. I mean, from day one, I would suggest to people that, once you've got a title, even a working title. Doesn't have to be your final title, but create a visual version. Create, a mock up that cover, print it out, and tape it to the wall. There's my book. I can see it. I've only written 2 pages, but there it is. And that can help pull you forward. But boy, let me tell you, I take my real basic designs, give them to a designer and say, you play with this. And the other mistake people make in this is that they over-direct a designer. Here's what I want, and it's got to be purple. And I want a picture of a sunrise on it. Well, that's taking a creative person and tying them in knots. I mean, really, why have a creative person, a designer, do something if you're not going to let them be creative? So it's a very interesting, process of trying to get a very good cover.
I've got a classic example of that. We have like a minute and a half before we take our next break. But I've got a client who took a book back from her. She had a publisher go belly up, and she actually got all the rights back. And it was, one of those pay to publish operations. And she's got it all back. And she's been really working through because she's so ticked that she has to do this all over again. And the reality is, in our therapy session together, was that she has a phenomenal opportunity to really make this thing right now. She knows what the hiccups are. And the evolution of the book cover, because I got her with a real book cover designer, what's evolved is a really beautiful, elegant design that so screams her and her message, where the other one looked like clip art. And that's what you're talking about. Yep,
absolutely. Yeah, that clip art look and the real basic feeling is just... And let me tell you, I've got a pretty good eye for this stuff, but I don't know how to implement most of those really good design concepts. It just... really, really, really.
You know what? I don't know either, but when I see it, I know what it is, and I can work with someone, and I work closely with the designers for both the interior and the exterior for my clients, and it makes a huge difference because I'll see things that they don't see. And together, it's a fabulous team. And that's what our listeners should be looking for. Someone who's got a team to work with, will bring it together. And the author has access to and can share what they think and feel. And with that, we'll be right back. When we come back, I have a fabulous offer to tell you all about. I'm Judith Briles. With me is Greg Godek, who is a master at book marketing and published for The Independent.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Do you sell stuff? Do you want to sell books? Lots of them? If yes, you must take credit cards, the most widely used form of payment today. The free terminal has created a special program for your guide to book publishing listeners. No contract, all equipment is free, extremely low rates, and no termination fees ever. Contact Alan Dean at alan@thefreeterminal.com or call him at 303-668-6828. The free terminal has handled all credit card transactions for both author you and Judith for over a year. Don't wait another day. Contact Alan at thefreeterminal.com or call 303-668-6828 and tell him you want the no contract author you deal.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today, 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Hi, we're back, and I wanted to tell you that I have something really special to share with all of you and to our listeners who picked this up. My new book number 30, is out. Officially, we launched it, and it's held the number one position in the book industry section on Amazon for the last 2 days. And it's not a cheap book. It's a pricey book. It's $45. It's in 4-color. It breaks all the rules of publishing. Greg talking to him yesterday, says, "Oh my God, I love the table of contents." It is a kick. You can get it for $28.05. But if you want to get a used book, Amazon's got a few, and you can pay $52.78. So do the math. Get a new one, $28.50, and here's the kicker. There are $2,600 in gifts specifically designed for the author. Specifically designed. They're not garbage. And you will get those when you buy the book. So here's how you do it. Don't go directly to Amazon. Go through the website for it, and it's called Author U, Y-O-U, Author U Books, and that's plural. AuthorUBooks.com. Enter the sweepstakes. There's some author between now and Sunday is going to win $6,000. One person's going to walk away with that, which includes $1,000 off your printing and an internet book tour for your ebook and an entire ebook layout by BookBaby, all kinds of goodies in there. So one author's going to get that. Then order the book. There's CDs there that would be worthwhile to get to go with the book, and then come back and fill in your confirmation number and click. All the gifts will open up to you. So that's my suggestion, AuthorUBooks.com. It'll change your authoring life, whether you're a brand new author or you're starting the next project. It doesn't matter where you are. All right, Greg, back to you. So I have a question. I have a question really about titles. And and we're talking about media because titles do come into media, and it's part of the pitch. And when you look at them, and you had made a remark to me that it took you 10 years to realize you never had a subtitle, which is fairly typical for a nonfiction book to have some kind of a subtitle to enhance what the title is. And you didn't need it. So let's talk about titles a little bit.
Well, titles, first of all, let me tell you, I'm very what's the word here? Judgmental about titles. I grade titles. I mean, A+, A-, B, C, and the goal the goal is to have an A-plus title. An A-plus title is something that people will remember. And here's the test. And nobody wants to do this because, really, most titles don't pass this test. The problem is we talk about our books to all our friends and colleagues, and they know what's going on, and there's a context for the book. But the public does not have a context. So here's what you do. The next time you're at Starbucks, you're up there, you order your coffee, and you just, mention, you're friendly, you're hanging out at your local, shop there and say, oh, by the way, I'm working on a book, Yeah, it's called, let's come up with something,
Author You.
Author You. It's called Author You. And it's about publishing in books. Yeah, okay, thanks for the coffee. Leave. Go back the next day and simply say, do you remember I mentioned a book to you yesterday? Do you remember the title?
Mm-hmm.
If they remember it, you're onto something.
Mm-hmm.
They probably won't remember it. And it's hard to find a title like that. I mean, it really is. Because a lot of the books that we know about have had so much marketing push behind them that we've forgotten. Like we were talking earlier, a good rule of thumb, although it's not always true, a good rule of thumb is for a nonfiction book, the title should tell you what the book's about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, duh, right? 1001 Ways to be Romantic, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, okay? The title tells you what the book is. Well, of course, right? You'd be stupid not to tell people what your book's about. Oh, wait a minute. Except for the book titled, Who Moved My Cheese? Now, think about it. Take yourself back 20 years. So for the first time this book appeared on the shelves, and you're walking through the bookstore and you look at this, Who Moved My Cheese? What in the world might this book be about? And the second question is, and why the heck should I care? But, there's been so much marketing behind it, and most of us can't afford that much marketing. But now, in our culture, Who Moved My Cheese equals change. They forced that one to happen. So be careful when you're judging your titles against other titles. Another magical title, wonderful title that breaks the rule is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It doesn't tell you what the book's about. It's a metaphor.
It is, but it's interesting, that is one of the all-time, it would be in the top 10 probably all-time best titles, I think. But the thing is, when people see that, they'll say, yep, that's right, they are.
Absolutely.
They get it.
Here's the amazing subtle thing about that title. I don't know how, they stumbled into it, but the title sounds kind of profound. Like it's telling you something, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's telling you something you didn't know. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So let me tell you something. My 5-year-old knows that. Boys and girls are different. That's what the title says. But the wording of it is mildly brilliant. It somehow rocks. People remember it and they smile. It's not a joke, but it's mildly humorous in just that right way. I had an occasion, this was several years ago, I was speaking at Book Expo America, and no, I was speaking, this is not about me, I'm sorry. There was a panel, there's a panel of producers from major shows. At the time it was Oprah, Jenny Jones, and the producers at the end said, we have 10 minutes, we'd like people to come up and pitch you got 1 minute to pitch your book to us. Now, people were berserk because only 5 people got to do it. And one woman stood up and she said, I have a book. It's about healthy eating for women and women's body image. Okay? And she said the title of the book is The Taming of the Chew. And 1,000 people in the audience all went, ooh. And one of the producers said, I want to talk to you afterwards. Okay? Now, this rocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, I thought about it a little later, and I caught up with this woman, and you'll see I can be subtle, but the truth is more important than being subtle.
Don't be subtle. Don't be subtle. We don't have time for subtleness.
Okay, there you go. I asked her, I said, well, who's the market for your book? She said, well, everyone. All women.
No.
Oprah's audience, okay? Oprah's audience. I said, okay, I got it, okay? I mean, that's middle America. This is everybody, right? Mm-hmm. I said, I don't think you have the right title. And she said, but everybody loves it. I said, you had 1,000 overeducated literary people like it. And they all know Shakespeare. And their brains all went, Taming of the Chew, Taming of the Shrew, Shakespeare, I get the joke, cool, ha-ha. Okay? Let me tell you something. Middle America doesn't know the Taming of the Shrew. All they know from Shakespeare is Romeo and Juliet. That's all they remember. If she had said, my book is an upscale book, I want to sell it at upscale spas, then the Taming of the Shrew would have been a great title. I have no idea what happened to it. So it's this, but it's, you know, so you really got to test your titles, and we all fall in love with our titles. That's the emotional ego thing. I don't mean being egotistical like Donald Trump. I mean, you know, if you're going to write a book, you probably have a pretty strong ego. It's like, who the heck are you to even write a book, right?
Exactly.
But I write the book, and I understand it, and this is a great title. Well, it might be or it might not be, you know, because the author often is not, you know, I'm not necessarily, look, I'm not the audience for my book, 1001 Ways to Be Romantic. I mean, I'm a romantic guy. You know, my book is for the people who are not romantic. So, you know, the title has to work for them, not for us.
And that's a really critical point. Okay, Greg, we have one more minute. Give us one more tip.
Take your book and break it into 12 pieces, 12 concepts. If you're going to pitch the media successfully, you need to come at them multiple times. And so it's not enough to say, you know, here's my book, you know, author you, you know, write a story about it. You need to come back to them next month with, you know, how to market your book. And then the month after that with how to write your book. And the month after that about researching your book. I mean, so, and most all of us, I mean, that material is already in the book. The challenge here is to take it and tweak it so that the media will really be intrigued.
And with that, we're going to say thank you to Greg Godek. If you want to really be able to schmooze with him and hear the genius that he has and strategy and maybe bring your book and see what he thinks, come to Author U Extravaganza. It's in Denver, Colorado, May 2nd through 4th. All you have to do is go to AuthorU, and that is the letter U.org. Sign up. We only have 30 spots left. I'm Judith Briles. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles.